When Lauryn Hill said, "How you gonna win when you ain't right within?" she was talking about introspection. Because if you don't have a moment of clarity to ask yourself how you really feel about a situation before you make a decision, then you won't know what to do with everything that you have on your plate. Okay? And ultimately, you can't rise to the challenge of being your ideal self in a given situation. That's why I wrote this book, Moment of Clarity Wellness Journal. The reason why I wrote this book is because journaling is the best self-care tool for introspection. Is it the best self-care habit? Not necessarily, but it's the principle of journaling. It's the skill of introspection. Introspection is your ability to reflect on your own experiences and define what they mean for yourself. Stop letting other people define your life. All right? Stop letting life define your life. Stop letting what's going on outside of you, the things that are outside of your control, prevent you from managing the one thing that you can control, which is yourself. All right? Introspection, this is the moment of clarity method. 3 simple steps. You got to ask yourself how you feel. You got to ask yourself how you want to feel. And you got to ask yourself, what can you do to feel like that? What can you do to cover the distance? Okay? To give you some context, when I wrote this book, my dad had just passed away 2 months prior. All right. And my dad actually passed away 10 days before my birthday. It was a very tumultuous time. The turbulence was a lot to handle, and I just really had no idea how I was going to manage everything that I was dealing with without taking the time to deal with myself as I'm going through the process. There are a lot of emotions coming up here. That's the nature of grief. Okay? Some people tell you there are 5 stages of grief. Some people tell you 7 stages of grief. Truthfully, grief is a roller coaster. Okay? And it's a roller coaster that keeps changing every time you get on it. So you kind of get used to it, but not really. You know, it becomes easier to manage, but every now and then there's a new twist, there's a new turn, there's a new experience because it's something that develops. But that's okay. That's okay. We have the wrong idea of grief and negative emotions. Okay? We feel like sadness is the wrong thing. We feel like anger is the wrong thing. It is only the wrong thing if that is the conclusion of your belief. All right? Sometimes you have to go through sadness and anger and depression and grief to get onto the other side of the pendulum. It's the law of duality. Everything happens in twos, everything happens in pairs. All right? And just because it's bad on this end doesn't mean that it's not good on this end. You have to have the perspective to focus on the good and do what you can do to be the difference maker in the bad being the good. We all have that power within ourselves. That's why you journal. You go to your book and you tell yourself what your power is. You get clear with yourself what your power is. You ask yourself how you're feeling. Maybe you're not feeling powerful right now. Okay, cool. Do you want to feel powerful? You're the only one who can decide that. I can't do that for you. I can encourage you. I can make videos like this with the hopes of inspiring you, but I can't make you powerful. You have to decide that for yourself by defining the experiences of your life as that. That is what it means to step up to the challenge and be your ideal self. Okay? The only one responsible for crossing that distance is you. All right? When things were happening with my dad, I felt like Future Trunks without a time machine. It felt like my entire world was going to smithereens, was absolute shock. Like, I had to be the strong one in so many situations, not just for myself, but for my family, because they needed me to be. And I was okay with that. I wasn't okay with all of the weight all at once, but I was okay with the fact that ideally, the best version of me can handle that. And I know that I can be the best version of me. So every day, and I don't journal every day now. I journal a lot though. Basically every other day. If there's 7 days in a week, I probably journal 5 of those days. But every day after my dad passed, I would journal. I would ask myself, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? What can I do to feel like that? And I would conquer my day. And I know that you can conquer your day too. I know that everyone has the ability to conquer their day. That's why I got up here and made this page. That's why I started by writing this book and putting this out there before I even had the confidence to get on camera and just like actively speak about the stuff that I wrote about and the stuff that I've learned about and the stuff that I'm passionate about enough to claim as my philosophy. I had to apply it to my life. It's been, what, 2 years since my dad passed? So 2 years in November since I wrote this book. You know how long that is to some people? It's short to me because life is long. Life is as long as you perceive it to be. A year can be a blur, or a year can be 365 days. That's 365 chances to turn your life around. So why would I ever dwell over the one day that I couldn't? Why should you dwell over the one day that you couldn't? Why should you dwell over the one day that it went wrong? It went wrong. You should be focusing on the days that it went good. Why would I focus on the fact that I just studied? If you know me from growing up, I used to have a speech impediment. You would never guess by the way I talk on my videos, the fact that I got 2 social media pages where all of my content is just commentary. But that's who I choose to be. That's who I've chosen to define myself as. And I believe in you, okay? I believe that you can define who you want to be. Even if you don't have a copy of this book, I want you to get on your phone. I want you to get in the comment section. We're not even gonna delay. I want you to ask yourself who you want to be, how you want to get there, and how you're gonna hold yourself accountable to getting there. All right? We're gonna put aside the past. We're gonna put aside those old versions of yourself. We're gonna focus on now. We're gonna focus on who you choose to be going forward. That's what it means to have a moment of clarity. Y'all take care.